strapped in here for the ride. 3,000 light years wide. Can't get up off the ground, spinning around and round.
Hi, Kingsley here. I hope you've all got through the full moon period unscathed or relatively unscathed. The full moon, as you know, was a supermoon. Somebody's called it a supermoon. The sun was actually conjunct black moon Lilith, which means the moon was conjunct Priapus. Priapus is the opposite point to black moon Lilith. You may have seen some or heard some pagan rituals around the place, and they were most likely chanting male fertility chants. Male fertility rituals were going on around the globe amongst pagan people. Interesting. So whenever you get a full moon that's involving black moon Lilith, you can be sure that Priapus, the opposite point of black moon Lilith, and this relates to the apogee and the perigee of the moon's orbit around the Earth. So it was your more than usually intense full moon. As one of my colleagues mentioned, he said, that's interesting, the moon is male. Good point. Anyway, getting on to the cosmic reflections for today. This is your update by video webcast. We're going to look at some midpoints that are active at the moment, and looking at the Sun coming close to Jupiter, and Venus is also approaching its aspect with Saturn soon. So let's get on with it. The cosmic reflections for the current period include Sun conjunct Jupiter, Venus trine Saturn, Moon in Sagittarius, Ceres conjunct Lilith, Saturn conjunct the fixed star Spica. Mercury is at the midpoint of Venus and Neptune, and Mercury is also at the midpoint of Jupiter and Uranus. That's a fair amount of astrology going on in the current period. All of these kinds of energies are on different levels and different cycles. There'll be some underlying and fundamental cosmic energies that mean certain things, and there's other things that are working on the surface. So the moon sets the flavour in Sagittarius. There's an uplifting element in Sun conjunct Jupiter. Venus trine Saturn gives us a sense of duty and responsibility and long-lasting relationships, a bit of commitment going on. Ceres and Lilith is a bit of weird love coming through, some parental nurturing that might be a little bit off-centre. And Saturn conjunct Spica represents a fortune, a very fortunate situation going on for people in authority and parents. And while Mercury and Venus and Neptune, we're going to get to that in the next slide, and with all of them in a bit more detail, and I'll put them in some kind of outline for you. There is an abundance of thoughts and ideas bubbling up. So you might find things that you don't know about, the unknown, that something will come up, bubble up into your awareness, and you'll get a realization about something in your life, whether it's a psychological thing or whether it's something about family or your social situations. There'll be some kind of awareness that comes to you now. And along with Sun and Jupiter conjunction, there's a good feel about this. It's a time for when these insights and these unconscious bubbles that they're not doing any harm. It's not going to be painful, it's going to be actually quite beneficial and uplifting. The stars are reflecting a sympathetic and compassionate understanding of people. Every now and again, I'm sure that you've come across someone that's not so well or not understanding a situation, and you can see that they're out of sorts. And all that they need is a helping hand, or a hand on their shoulder, or a listening ear, and that's just enough for them to process what they're going through. They may not understand their current situation and their emotional investments. So when the idea of situations bubbling up, unconscious ideas and thoughts bubbling up to the surface, sometimes people aren't so clear, and they go through a little bit of a turmoil or interaction with their reality to come to terms with that. So it's a good thing, and it's a fortunate thing, an uplifting situation where there's also that energy that is accessible to people for understanding and compassion and sympathy. According to Robson, Saturn and Spica are apt to be suspicious, sharp or rugged, but does much good, occult interests. A good speaker, popular, many friends, gained through legacies, but extravagant good health, and favourable for domestic matters. It all sounds good. Because Venus is aspecting Saturn by trine, so Saturn and Spica are emphasised in this equation. So old friends, good relationships, relationships which are smoothed out. There's a sense of structure or form to the way that things work between people. And there's also a good sense of duty, and I did say commitment before. So friendships, old friends, and working relationships with bosses and other people, there's a sense of smoothing out now. There's also a very good possibility of fortunate moves in careers. That's always welcome. Here in Australia tonight, we have the new federal budget being handed down. It's probably already on the news now as I'm talking. I haven't seen it or heard it. But you can imagine in this current period of time that giving a budget's a pretty good thing to do, and no doubt that the budget will be delivered with some benefits and some things that are uplifting. According to the news yesterday, there was going to be some cuts and some handouts and a mixture, an array of different cost-cutting and benefits for the underprivileged people. So it's a good time to deliver a budget. In general, the climate, the astrological climate, is beneficial. There are good things going on. You could say that it's golden. And everybody is going through their individual circumstances, whether that is a healthy or unhealthy or fortunate or unfortunate circumstance. That the current stars that are being reflected in the skies above bring these fortunate aspects in some way to everybody, whether or not you're experiencing a good situation or not at the moment. In general, the stars are saying that it's a beneficial time. So enjoy the next few days. I think it will be a good time as the stars reflect. And I would love to hear some feedback or any comments and your ideas on the Kingsley page. Okay, that's all from me now. See you next time.